Welcome to today's deep dive. I am so glad you're joining us because, honestly, there is this massive, just glaring contradiction happening in commercial real estate right now.
Oh, absolutely. It's fascinating.
Right. Because think back a few years, the consensus was totally unified. Everyone was saying, remote work and artificial intelligence are going to just completely empty out office buildings forever. Like the era of the physical office was dead and gone.
Yeah, that was the headline everywhere, the death of the office.
Exactly. And yet, if you actually look at the data today, companies are spending billions to lock down commercial space.
Yeah.
But, and here's the really interesting catch, they aren't looking for standard desks in a standard room anymore.
No, far from it. What we are witnessing is this drastic, really high-stakes evolution. The physical workplace is no longer just this container to hold your employees from 9 to 5.
Right, just a box to put people in.
Exactly. It has become a highly calibrated strategic tool. And frankly, it's becoming a piece of technology in itself.
Which brings us to the core mission of today's deep dive. We are unpacking a phenomenon that industry insiders are calling the flight to quality.
Yes, the flight to quality, the huge shift.
And to really get into this, we are looking closely at a fascinating report. It's called the AI Office, How Artificial Intelligence is Reshaping Workplace Demand in Indianapolis. And this was compiled with market insights from Ally's Commercial Realty.
It's a really thorough report.
It is. And while the ground zero for this report is Indianapolis, the data actually serves as a perfect magnified lens for a global shift. So even if you don't live in Indiana, this impacts you.
It really is the perfect microcosm, honestly. Because if you want to understand where the broader economy is heading, you have to look at where the concrete is literally being poured and where the fiber optic cables are being laid.
Yeah, follow the concrete. So let's start with the numbers, because at first glance, they just seem entirely backward.
They really do.
Like if we look at the data from early 2026, the vacancy rate for Class A office space in Indianapolis actually rose. It hit 21.1%.
Right.
And just for anyone not totally steeped in real estate jargon, Class A just means the absolute top tier, most premium buildings on the market.
The best of the best.
Right. And meanwhile, national vacancy rates had kind of stabilized around 20.2%. So mathematically, there are empty buildings. Vacancy is up. Yet at the exact same time, the demand for very specific types of spaces within that market is practically ferocious.
It's a market of absolute extremes right now. And the demographics of who is actually leasing that space, that explains everything.
Okay, lay it out for us.
So nationally, businesses focused on AI, data analytics, software development, cloud services, they accounted for 22.7% of total office leasing activity in early 2026.
Wow.
Yeah. Nearly a quarter of all leasing activities being driven by heavy tech.
Okay, let's unpack the mechanics of that, because I think a lot of people might assume companies are just, looking to downsize. Like, oh, people work from home, we need less space.
Right, that's the common assumption.
But it's not a downsizing at all. It's an architectural, complete teardown. It's like trading in a massive, cheap minivan for a highly customized, high-tech sports car.
I like that.
Yeah, companies don't want an empty warehouse just to fit 500 desks anymore because half their staff works from home 3 days a week anyway. They don't want more space. They want smarter space.
That is a great way to frame it. What's fascinating here is that the whole sports car or, laboratory concept gets right to the heart of the mechanism. Because what is happening is a massive convergence of industries.
Meaning what exactly?
Well, those tools we just mentioned, AI, machine learning, heavy automation, they are no longer confined to Silicon Valley software firms.
Oh, right. Every company is basically a tech company now.
Precisely. I mean, think about it. If you are a mid-sized logistics company, your routing is driven by AI. If you are a regional healthcare provider, your patient diagnostics are leveraging heavy data analytics on the back end. That means building features that used to be considered luxury upgrades, stuff just for a tech giant. They are now baseline, non-negotiable expectations for everyday businesses.
So you can't just slap a fresh coat of paint and some new carpet on a 1990s office park and expect a logistics firm to lease it.
Oh, definitely not. The aesthetic is entirely secondary now. What matters today is what is hiding behind the drywall. We were talking about heavy power, cooling, and fiber optics.
Okay, let's get into the weeds on this infrastructure obsession, because this is where the physical reality of AI actually collides with real estate.
It's the most critical part of the report.
Yeah, the report notes that modern enterprises now require dedicated space for edge computing and local server rooms. Now, before we go any further, let's just define edge computing for anyone listening who isn't a network engineer. What does that actually mean in the context of an office?
Sure. So think about the traditional cloud model. You do something on your computer, the data travels hundreds of miles to a massive server farm in another state, it processes, and then it comes back.
Right, like standard internet usage.
Exactly. And for basic tasks, sending an email, that is totally fine. But when you are running predictive AI models or analyzing massive real-time data sets, that travel time, that physical lag is a huge problem.
Because it's too slow.
Right. So edge computing basically means putting a localized brain or a smaller server physically closer to where the data is being used.
Oh, I see. Right there in your office building.
Exactly. It eliminates the lag.
Okay, let me play devil's advocate here for a second, because I hear you on the predictive AI, but if I run, say, a mid-sized accounting firm, I'm not rendering Pixar movies.
Sure.
I use, Amazon Web Services or Microsoft Azure. I'm fully in the cloud. Why do I care about having heavy physical server infrastructure in my building if my data lives on Jeff Bezos's servers?
Because getting to that cloud requires a physical bridge. And if that bridge collapses, your entire firm is paralyzed. This is why these standard non-tech companies are demanding redundant connectivity.
But wait, any decent office building has business class internet, right?
Business class internet from 10 years ago isn't going to cut it anymore. Think about it. You have 50 accountants simultaneously pulling massive encrypted financial data sets from the cloud in real time.
Okay, that's a lot of bandwidth.
Right. But beyond just the bandwidth, what happens when the connection drops? We're talking about the need for diverse fiber entry points.
Meaning what exactly? Like different cables?
Meaning physical geographical separation of the internet cables entering the building.
Interesting.
Imagine your accounting firm is in an older building. There is one main fiber line coming in from the street. A construction crew a block away accidentally hits a water main. A backhoe severs that single fiber line, and your entire building goes dark.
Wow. Yeah, you're totally offline.
You cannot access the cloud. Your employees are sitting at their desks, completely unable to work, while you bleed money by the hour.
Okay, so diverse fiber entry points mean you have an internet cable coming in from, like, the north side of the building and a totally separate secondary provider coming in from the south side.
Exactly. If the backhoe hits one, the other takes over instantly.
So the building's physical layout is literally protecting your digital operations.
Yes. And let's not forget the environmental toll of edge computing and localized network switches.
Heat, right. Servers get hot.
Incredibly hot. A standard legacy HVAC system that shuts down for the weekend to save money. That will result in a server meltdown by Saturday afternoon.
Yikes.
Modern enterprises need robust, around-the-clock localized cooling capabilities and high-power electrical distribution to run those server racks without, browning out the floor.
The stakes are just incredibly high, and you can actually see it in the rent rolls. Like, the CoStar data in the report highlights this perfectly.
It's staggering data.
It is. Downtown office buildings in Indianapolis that have received major fiber upgrades reported occupancy rates approximately 10% higher than comparable properties.
10% is huge in commercial real estate.
Right. A 10% bump just because of the cables hiding in the walls.
That margin is literally the difference between a thriving, profitable asset and a distressed property heading for foreclosure. The market is taking this so seriously that there are now formal benchmarks for it.
Like what?
You will see certifications like Wired Score and Smart Score.
Which are essentially what? Like a Carfax report for a building's tech readiness.
That is a great analogy. Yeah, it acts as an independent seal of approval. Before a major tenant even signs a letter of intent, they look at that score.
To see what's under the hood.
Exactly. It tells them instantly if the property can actually handle modern technology without requiring a $2 million retrofit on day one.
And it isn't just the digital infrastructure either. It is the actual physical shape of the space itself. The report mentions that modular floor plates are a major requirement now. Why is that?
Because technology changes faster than a 10-year commercial lease.
Oh, that makes sense.
Right. A layout that works perfectly for a company's workflow in 2026 might be entirely obsolete by 2029 as they adopt new automated systems.
So if you're stuck with static walls...
Yeah, if your office has load-bearing walls and hardwired electrical drops everywhere, you have to literally tear down drywall to reconfigure your space. It is slow, it's messy, and it's really expensive.
So modular floor plates fix that?
Exactly. Modular floor plates mean the raised flooring, the power grids, the movable partitions. They can all be adapted rapidly without massive capital expenditure. The physical space becomes as agile as the software the company uses.
So let's step back and look at the big picture here. We are talking about massive electrical needs, specialized around-the-clock cooling, redundant fiber networks, and highly adaptable physical infrastructure.
It's his massive checklist.
It is. Yeah. And if you need all of this heavy power and connectivity, you can't just build it anywhere. Like, you can't just drop this kind of power demand onto a strained residential grid.
No, the grid would collapse.
Which points us directly to geography and why central Indiana has become this perfect case study, this perfect sandbox for the AI real estate boom.
Geography is destiny in the AI era. You simply cannot separate the physical building from the municipal grid it plugs into.
So why is Indiana uniquely positioned for this?
Well, Indiana has positioned itself brilliantly for this technological transition. Let's start with the base requirement: power. Commercial electricity costs in Indiana are well below the national average.
Which is huge when you're running servers 24/7.
Exactly. When you are running edge computing hardware and massive cooling systems all day, electricity is no longer just some minor overhead cost. It is a critical operational line item.
Right. And add to that, the state is being heavily proactive. The report mentions they launched the IN AI initiative to actively help local businesses adopt artificial intelligence.
And look at the macro environment they've created alongside that. The state has frameworks in place that actively support large-scale technology investments while protecting utility ratepayers.
So it's safe for the public, but attractive to investors.
Yes. They are accelerating the actual physical infrastructure, power generation, transmission lines, energy storage. This creates a highly stable, very predictable environment for institutional tech investors.
And we are seeing the results of that stability in a massive way. The epicenter of this in the region is the LEP Research and Innovation District up in Boone County.
It's incredible what's happening there.
It is acting like an economic gravity well. You have Meta building a $10 billion data center campus in Lebanon. $10 billion.
It's hard to even wrap your head around that number.
That number is staggering. And you also have Eli Lilly's massive manufacturing campus there, acting as one of the largest economic development projects in the state's history.
And what's crucial to understand is that those aren't just isolated facilities.
What do you mean?
They are ecosystem catalysts. When a giant like Meta or Eli Lilly drops an investment of that magnitude, they drag an immense amount of high-tier infrastructure into the region with them.
Ah, like new substations and fiber backbones?
Exactly. You get all this new heavy-duty infrastructure built out just to support them.
Right, and it creates this massive geographic network. The report outlines what they call an innovation corridor.
Yes, the corridor is key.
It physically connects downtown Indianapolis, the LEP district in Boone County, and West Lafayette. And feeding this corridor is an incredibly deliberate talent pipeline.
The talent piece is what makes it all work.
Definitely. You have Purdue University in Indianapolis, which just launched in 2024 specifically to expand engineering talent. And then you have the IU lab at 16 Tech, providing 150,000 square feet of research space to foster startup collaboration.
Which means the life sciences, microelectronics, and AI sectors are all physically clustering in one continuous zone.
Okay, here is where it gets really interesting to visualize. When you look at a map of this region, it functions exactly like a giant physical motherboard.
Oh, that's an interesting way to put it. Walk me through that.
Think about the components of a computer. The LAP district is the CPU. It is doing the heavy processing, housing the massive data centers, drawing all the heavy power.
Right, the brain.
Exactly. Then the universities, Purdue, IU, they are the RAM, the memory. They are constantly supplying the localized, highly skilled talent to the system.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
And that innovation corridor, the highway connecting them all, that is the data bus physically linking the talent to the processors.
I actually love that visualization because it explains the why behind the real estate demand perfectly.
How so?
Well, let's look at the downstream effects of your motherboard analogy. When you have massive data centers and industrial campuses, the CPU, they don't operate in a vacuum.
Right.
They generate an intense localized demand for professional services. Yeah. Corporate lawyers, technical consultants, specialized marketing firms, engineering contractors.
They all flock to the area.
They all need to be near the CPU to do business. But those consulting firms don't lease industrial warehouse space. They lease high-tech Class A office space.
Ah, but they don't just lease it anywhere, right? The success isn't evenly distributed across the entire map.
Not at all. The demand heavily favors very specific submarkets. The report explicitly highlights Hamilton County.
Yeah, cities like Carmel and Fishers are dramatically outperforming their competitors in the region.
Exactly.
Why them specifically, though? Are they just closer to the highway?
It is a combination of modern inventory and strategic positioning. They physically sit right between the talent pool generating in Indianapolis and the massive corporate investments happening up at the LE district.
Oh, so they are perfectly positioned on that motherboard to capture the downstream growth.
Yes, and importantly, they actually have the modern, tech-ready office inventory to house those companies immediately.
Which means this uneven distribution is creating a very sharp divide in the market. There are clear winners and there are incredibly clear losers.
Absolutely. The market is splitting.
So what does this all mean? Let's talk about the strategic implications. If you were listening to this right now, how do you navigate this landscape? Because the guidance from Ally's Commercial Realty is pretty blunt. The gap between Class A, innovation-ready buildings and aging, obsolete inventory is widening rapidly.
It's accelerating.
Yeah.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, let's follow the cause and effect, starting with the tenants. The business is actually looking for space.
Right. The business owners listening right now, if they're looking at an older, cheaper building, is it just a trap?
It really is. Think about it. If a tenant signs a lease in an older building just to save a few dollars on rent, what happens when their operations outgrow the building's electrical capacity?
They can't upgrade their servers, their software throttles.
Right. Their tech bottlenecks, their top talent gets frustrated and leaves.
Because no one wants to work on slow networks.
Exactly. And eventually, the business suffers so much that they break the lease and move to a smarter building anyway. The office has become a strategic tool for talent retention. If your building can't support the software your top engineers need to use, they will just go work for a competitor whose building can.
So a cheap lease is a massive liability for a tenant. But let's flip it and look at the investor holding that obsolete building. The tenant broke their lease and left.
This is where the pain really hits for investors. You can't just look at today's occupancy rates anymore.
What do you mean?
Say you own a 1980s office building that is currently 90% leased. It looks profitable today.
Looks great on paper.
Right. But its cooling systems are legacy, and it has no redundant fiber. When those current leases expire, those tech-reliant tenants are going to flee for smarter buildings. That leaves the investor holding an obsolete asset.
Ouch. So what do they do?
You either have to endure massive prolonged vacancies, or you have to fund an incredibly expensive total system upgrade. Often, the only financial way out is adaptive reuse.
Like turning it into condos.
Literally converting the obsolete office building into apartments or retail. Yeah, because it is simply no longer fit for modern corporate use.
Wow. And finally, that brings us to the developers who are actually pouring the concrete today.
Developers have zero margin for error right now. They have to design for future tech requirements from day one.
So they can't just build a generic box.
No. That means laying the groundwork for diverse fiber entry points before the foundation is even finished. It means engineering structural floor loads and cooling shafts that can actually support high-density computing equipment 10 years from now.
Future-proofing.
Exactly. If you build a standard low-tech office building today, it is functionally obsolete the moment the ribbon is cut.
So to bring this directly back to you, the listener, if you are a business owner, a CEO, or an operations manager, and you are staring at a cheap lease for an older building across town, you have to realize that saving a few $1,000s a month on overhead might actually be the most expensive mistake you ever make.
It is the definition of penny wise and pound foolish. If you handicap your entire operations ability to utilize modern AI tools because your building's infrastructure can't handle the load, you are sacrificing your competitive advantage in the market.
You're throttling yourself.
Right. Technology is not removing the need for physical workplaces. It is demanding that the workplace evolve into a high-performance environment.
Which is just an incredible paradigm shift to witness. I mean, we started this deep dive looking at what seemed like a total paradox.
The rising vacancies alongside premium rents.
Exactly. Rising office vacancies sitting right alongside intense demand for Class A spaces. But looking at the mechanics, it makes perfect sense. We've seen how the invisible behind-the-walls requirements of the AI era, the edge computing hubs, the specialized cooling, the redundant fiber loops, they are completely rewriting the rules of what an office is supposed to be.
In central Indiana serves as the perfect roadmap to understand it all. We saw how state initiatives, combined with below-average electricity costs and massive institutional investments like the LA district, they act as regional catalysts.
Creating those innovation corridors.
Yes, they create these zones where the divide between a modern, tech-ready building and an outdated space isn't just a matter of preference. It is a literal matter of corporate survival.
So whether you are an executive prepping for a boardroom meeting about long-term overhead costs, or an investor analyzing a portfolio, or just someone who is insanely curious about where the economy is going, this infrastructure shift is something you simply cannot ignore.
Because the physical spaces we work in are the literal foundation of the artificial intelligence revolution.
Yeah. Without the physical, the digital doesn't exist.
Exactly. You can code the smartest, most predictive software in the world. But that software still has to live on a physical server. And that physical server still has to sit inside a physical building that can keep it powered, cooled, and connected to the rest of the world.
Exactly. And that actually leaves us with a really provocative, slightly wild thought to chew on as we wrap up.
Oh, what's that?
Well, we opened by talking about how commercial real estate used to just be a box, a simple geometric space to put human beings.
Right.
But think about the trajectory we're on right now. As these properties become more densely packed with environmental sensors, localized edge computing brains, predictive climate controls, and modular floor plans that physically adapt to automated workflows. At what point does the office building stop being just a concrete structure that houses technology?
Oh, I see where you're going.
At what point does the building start acting as a massive, habitable AI entity itself? You aren't just walking into an office anymore, you're walking into a living machine.
That is a brilliant and honestly somewhat terrifying thought to leave on. The building isn't just the shell anymore. It is part of the system itself.
Something to mull over the next time you walk through your lobby and swipe your badge. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep looking behind the walls. Get in touch with Allies Commercial Realty at info@alliescommercialrealty.com to find your ally in commercial real estate.